How many times have you come across a sketch pattern and it says to cut your paper to 2 3/8 by 4 3/16? Did your eyes cross and roll back in your head? I mean, who would have thought that scrapbooking would involve fractions, right? But as a scrapbooker, you gotta read rulers, and the biggest ruler you'll ever read is your paper trimmer. So in this clip, I'm going to show you how to do just that. Hi, I'm Carolyn from Crop Candy Scrapbooking, and I teach new scrapbookers simple techniques that you can put into practice right away. And today, I'm sharing how to use a paper trimmer. Most times in scrapbooking, you don't need to measure your paper. However, if you use a sketch to create a layout, oftentimes you'll have to cut your paper to specific measurements dictated by the pattern. Therefore, especially if you're a new scrapbooker, you'll want to learn how to wield a paper trimmer. The first thing I want to review are the parts of the trimmer. So we've got our grid here with all of our markings of increments. We've got the blade track. This is where the actual cutting happens. This also lifts up. This is where you would put your paper in. The blade is right here, as you can see. And then finally we have our swing arm, which is useful for when you have a large piece of paper that's bigger than 5 inches, which is this line right here. This particular swing arm goes out to 15 inches. Now let's look at the measurement markings. Each of these lines here represent 1/4 inch. Each of the tiny lines in between the larger lines represents a 1/16 of an inch. And how we mark that is 1, 2, 3, 4 16ths equals 1/4. 5, 6, 7, 8 16ths equals 1/2. We're bringing back our math here. 9, 10, 11, 12 16ths is 3/4 of an inch. 13, 14, 15, 16 16ths is exactly an inch. The other side of our blade track, you can also use to cut and measure your paper. Same principle applies. These are 1/4 inch markings with 1/16 inch markings in between. And I like to use this side of the paper sometimes if I'm cutting, for example, a zip strip or something that's smaller than 1/2, because this goes up to 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4. Now it's time for us to actually go ahead and cut something. So if I just wanted to cut any old piece of paper, I slip my paper underneath the blade track and shoo, there we go. Piece of paper cut pretty simply, right? Better than using scissors. Suppose I wanted to do a 2 by 2 square. I would come over here to the 2-inch mark, make my slice, okay? Then I'm going to rotate my piece of paper counterclockwise or to my left, right? Because this is already 2 inches wide and I want to make it like 2 inches across. So I'm going to line it up again on the 2-inch mark and slice. And there's my 2-inch square. I've got another piece of paper. I want to show you another way that you can cut with the trimmer with the 2 different measurements. So let's try 2 inches by 1 inches. So let's go ahead and put our paper in at the 2-inch mark. And instead of slicing all the way through as I did before, I'm going to pull it down to the 1-inch mark, which is right there. And then I'm going to flip my paper over to the 1-inch mark here, because you can see where I've already made that first slice, and I'm going to do my second slice at 1 inches at the 1-inch mark, and I'm going to drag it to the 2-inch mark, which lines up to where that original slice is. So this, and I can also double check here because I know this is 1 inch, this is 2 inches, 3 inches. You can see these guides here kind of tell you where you are. So right here, this is 2 inches, and this 2-inch mark lines up with the cut I've already made, so I'm good there. And then I need to make this length 2 inches, so I'm going to come down to that 2-inch mark, and then my 1x2. So that is another option if you're trying to conserve paper. It's a little tricky for some folks to do it that way. If you're just starting out, I wouldn't recommend that, but it's another way to help you, use this particular side here as your guides and this ruler on this side here as your guides. Sometimes you get a sketch pattern like the one I'm holding here, and it'll tell you that this particular piece, in this case C, which is right here, is 3/4 by 8 inches. So if I was reading this, I would think, because I always do length by width, the length is 3/4 and the height is 8, but that's not really the case. So if I look at this pattern up here, the length is actually 8 inches and the height is 3/4 inches. So I'm going to use stripe paper for this little strip. I want my stripes to be this way, vertical. Then I need to make sure that the width of this strip is 8 and the height is 3/4 inch. This is where it gets tricky. So this is why I say you have to think about the orientation of your paper if you're going to use stripes and other patterns. Now, remember I told you that this piece here you can, or I'm sorry, this side here you can actually use to measure. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, that's 3/4. And that's the height I need for my strip. And now I need 8 inches long. So I'm going to put my paper under the guide, and I'm going to find the 8-inch mark right here, slide it over, and then come over here and make my slice. And now that piece is ready for the layout. It's exactly how I wanted it, with the stripes going vertically, and that will be perfect. Now, suppose I wanted to do it the other way, where I had the stripes going horizontally left to right. Well, the first cut I would make would be 3/4 here for my height and 8 inches for my width. So what I'm going to do is come back over here. I'm going to measure at the 3/4 inch mark on this side of the blade, do my slice, and then come over here, reposition my paper over to this 8-inch mark there, and make my slice. And there you have two strips. They're both 3/4 inches by 8 inches, but the orientation of the stripes are different. The top one has the stripes going vertically or up and down, and the bottom strip has the stripes going left to right or horizontally. So when you do your scrapbook layouts and you look at these patterns, right, you'll have to decide, if you decide to use stripes or any other kinds of patterns, you'll have to make a decision as to the orientation that you want your particular pattern to take with the different sketch elements, and then you'll have to cut accordingly. And that's how you use a paper trimmer. Was this easy for you to understand? Do you have a different way of using a paper trimmer? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked today's video, be sure to subscribe and like And sign up for my e-newsletter at cropcandy.net/subscribe for more scrapbooking tips and ideas. Thanks for watching.